Welcome to the T-ROH Show, special edition number 6. This is your host, Keith. We have George on the line, and we have some interesting information that we want to pass along. But we also want to tell the rest of the world what it's like in America, what is going on in America. So whenever you start getting the lectures of human rights in other courts in other countries, let's show you what's really going on over here. What hypocritical crap's going on? Go ahead, George.
Hello, everybody. We had a court appearance yesterday in a little traffic court. It was about 350 people.
Where was this?
This was in New Jersey, Harrison Township, New Jersey.
Okay.
And I could not believe what I was seeing going on there. I haven't been in a court in 30 years. And I just watched the judge acting as prosecutor. The prosecutor wasn't even in the room. And basically it was guilty, 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 pay the fine. Guilty, 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 pay the fine. I'm going to enter a plea in for you. The judge was practicing law from the bench. He was rolling over the state constitutions. There was no... It wasn't law there. It was like it was a private business that was being run. And I told him I don't consent, nor do I understand to anything that was going on. And he just kept on reading the next charge. He goes, do you understand? I would say no. And he goes, well, we're going to enter a plea for you. I sat there, stood there in disbelief. Totally amazed. I'm still here today.
Wait a minute, George. Keep in mind, because we're brushing over one point here.
Yes.
There's a human rights tape out there that tells everybody what human rights are and what's going on. A judge cannot sit there and enter a plea for you and then find you guilty all in one fell swoop. There's no prosecutor in the freaking room. He's just sitting there doling out guilty, 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 guilty. That's not due process, folks. There's nothing going on in that courtroom other than total Masonic temple dictatorship going on. That's what's happening.
There was no prosecutor in any of those cases at any time. And when there was, they swore them in real quickly, and the judge dictated to the prosecutor what was going to occur. The prosecutor never even spoke. He just shook his head up and down. I was looking at it and I'm going, what is going on here? There was no law being administered there. It was just their private little club to which you're not a member, to which they're trafficking your person into their little club and trying to make you believe it was law. It was a surreal process, the whole thing. I still can't believe that it occurred. I can't comprehend it. It was nothing like what I was raised with, and there's due process and protection of your constitutional rights or anything like that. None of that was occurring. Nothing. It was just a railroad system of guilty, guilty, court costs, fees, pay the clerk. Thank you. Have a nice day. And then he would just start reading the next charge. He would call the next name, guilty, 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 done. Unreal. It was unreal.
And you come home and you're like, what the hell just happened?
It's exactly what I did. I sat there for 45 minutes and I was reviewing what just occurred in my mind. And now I'm sitting back going, what just occurred there? That was not like any court that I was raised to believe or raised to, to protect some of your rights and this and that. It was just an extreme example of the Masons enforcing their will upon people when you express otherwise. You try to maintain your intangible property rights to your person, and they didn't even recognize that. They just trafficked your person, which is against the UDHR, into a foreign jurisdiction to which you never were a member anyway, and then charged your person accordingly.
What was the judge's name?
The judge's name was Thomas M. North. The Honorable Thomas M. North.
All right. Okay, so now, I mean, you've been around us for a while, and now you see why we're doing what we're doing.
Yes.
And why we're going to such lengths of doing what we're doing. Because, see, the majority of folks, guys, just so everybody understands, the majority of folks have never seen that before.
No.
They don't really go to, they play all by the rules and everything they're told to do, and they never see that. They don't see what's going on in their courtrooms.
Yes.
And that they don't understand. Oh, just tell them to go through. Go get a traffic ticket on purpose, and then go try to fight it and see what happens. See what happens to you.
I guarantee you there will be no rule of law in that court.
No.
That you go to. I can guarantee it. Because if it's occurring at this level, it must be occurring at the higher levels all across the Dutch United States. It has to be occurring everywhere.
You have to see it like in federal, man. If you're accused of something and they think you're guilty, they stack charges. It's like 45 charges against you. And then they say, okay, we'll plead you down to 1. And then they don't even go to trial. 95% of the cases, of the federal cases that are there, don't ever go to trial. They barrage you into plea bargaining.
Yes. Well, there was he was reading one of the charges. First of all, he was speaking like, he was speaking so fast. I don't know how people can understand him, number one, or comprehend what he was saying. And then it came out to one of the charges he was reading. Well, that could be 1 to 5 days jail time. Wait a minute. This is a traffic violation. There's not a criminal offense going on here. It was traffic. And you could get jail time for traffic? Wait a minute.
There was no accident?
There was no accident.
You didn't hit anybody?
There was no injured party.
Yeah, you didn't hit anybody. You didn't hurt anybody. There was no manslaughter. There was no this or
that. No.
But here's the funny thing about it. When there's a criminal that comes in, they always pop that on TV, and he gets a full-blown jury trial, all this other stuff, man. And, I mean, he gets all the rights on the planet. Pedophiles get all the rights on the planet. All these guys get all the rights on the planet that are afforded to them, and even more so. But when it comes to just simple stuff like traffic and this kind of thing, it basically blows people's minds when you go through something like this. So you were talking about the officer. Go talk to the officer or something?
Yeah, there was I had to stand in this line with my ticket number, and this is outside of the courtroom as they marshaled everybody in. And I'm standing in the line. I finally got up to this sergeant, and I did not catch his name. I'm usually pretty diligent in doing that. So he's reading me, well, do you have insurance? And I said, well, no, I have a bond in place. And this went on 3 times, of course, honor, dishonor 3 times. And I said, no, there's a bond in place. And I said, well, I have a motion before the court to discharge, which papers were sent approximately a week earlier to the 3, to the prosecutor, to the officer, and to the court administrator.
Okay, so by court rules, you put a motion in.
Yes.
You put 3 of them in.
Yes, I did.
Okay, so you have 3 motions in there. Go ahead.
Yes, 3 motions,
So you're
and
not, or you're not arguing jurisdiction. You're not putting
no,
any patriot guru crap in there.
no,
You're not doing anything like that. You're not saying that you're sovereign, that you're a man of the
no,
soil, all this other
no,
junk. You're not saying any of that whatsoever.
no.
And you're not even claiming resident status, American, nothing. You're just there, and you
Yes,
put 3 motions in just like anybody would.
yes.
Okay.
And I was there to defend the intangible and to maintain that there was no controversy before the court,
Right.
per the motion, and to maintain the intangible property rights of my person.
Uh-huh. Yeah, we
And
know. We got the motions. Go ahead. What'd they say?
we're not going to honor them. What's your basis of law for those motions?
I'm sorry. That's exactly right. That's exactly what they do. We're not going to honor those. And then you come back and go, they're motions.
Yes. I said they're motions. What do you mean you're not going to honor them? Well, we're just not going to honor them. And anytime I mention the intangible property rights to my person, et cetera, remember, we're not honoring those. I stood there in utter disbelief as I'm speaking today, and I hope it's coming across in my voice. I still don't know what happened there yesterday. I don't have words.
It's called a Title IV violation.
Yes. Yes.
So we can absolutely prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that it doesn't matter whether you're white, black, Asian, Hispanic, or any other race. It does not matter. Slavery exists.
Yes. I'll attest to it. They are trafficking your person, and that is slavery. And Article 4 under the Universal Declaration of Human Rights states unequivocally, no one shall be held in slavery or servitude. Slavery and the slave trade shall be prohibited in all their forms.
Right, and all the motions are dealing with is, okay, just so everybody understands, these are free motions. Everybody can get them. We had them in a previous broadcast of the T-ROH show. All they're doing is trying to fix the problem of the human rights violations that are going on in all of the county local levels. All we're trying to do is fix a problem. That's it. We're not trying to change the political structure of it. We're not trying to lean judges. We're not attacking them in any way. We're putting a motion in which is supposed to be held. Obviously, no due process. Obviously, it's no due process.
Yes, there was none.
And you got a dictator sitting on a bench. He's not a judge. He's a dictator.
Yes.
And he's going in guilty, 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 which in some of the human rights videos, a judge can't do that. He can't just say, guilty, pay the fine. Next guy come up, guilty, pay the fine. Next guy come up, guilty, pay the fine. They can't, that's slavery, folks. Just so everybody understands that it absolutely does exist in America. And it doesn't matter what color you are.
No,
what matters is, are you a part of the club?
Yes, and we expressed in short terms that we were not a member of the club, and it even said behind the judge, incorporated 1874. The township was incorporated. Was I in Walmart or Kmart? Yeah. There was no court there.
Well, okay. Now, what happened after that? Cops and stuff like that.
Well, everybody else, as I got into
I'm talking about at your house.
Oh, there. I haven't heard sirens in front of the house in a long time, and every once in a while now. Yesterday, matter of fact, twice, I heard sirens just by the house or whatever. They turn it on, and then they go down the road a little further, and then all of a sudden the siren's off. Now, I don't know if that is, an implied sovereign citizen or implied something, but, for the sake of the matter, I haven't heard any of these things in a while.
Well, the reason why, okay, just so everybody understands what's going on there, they're not going to say sovereign citizen. The reason why they're not going to say that is because this government is notorious for going after them for attempted murder. So they're not going to say it. They're just going to do it. So now they're hiding it. So what they're doing is that every time they go by your house, this is called gang stalking, by the way, it's just so everybody understands. This is gang stalking by a private secret society. It's a gang stalking society, and they're not real. Their oaths are not to your state or to your country or to your township. Their oaths are to their secret society. So what they'll do is they'll go by the house, and then they'll turn the lights on as if it's an emergency when they go by your house. So they have that on their records.
Yes, that seems like what occurred, yesterday and last night.
Right. Now, the reason why they're doing that, okay, is there's such thing as we heard last night, there's such a thing called terrorism insurance. It's up to $4 billion. So they put on this show in the courtroom, and they know, be honest, they're not stupid people. They're not dumb at all. They know that they're violating human rights. They know they're violating due process. They know they're doing all that. And they're doing that to piss people off, to agitate them and incite them to violence. Then when they incite them to violence, they can gain a claim on the terrorism insurance, which is up to $4 billion. It's a money scam going on by the Masonic lodges.
Mm-hmm. We were peaceful, and our tone of voice stayed the same, and we were not in any way, shape, or form what most men and women might know as an enemy, belligerent, or rebel. None of that was portrayed in our tone, our actions, our voice, etc.
Yeah, you weren't even bitching that the driver's license, you're trying to validate the driver's license.
Yeah.
You're not even, you're trying to help them with the validation of the driver's license, insurance, and registration. You're not even hurting them at all.
No.
And if you're showing a problem in there, and the judge, see, a regular good one, a really good judge, a guy that has a conscience, is not a sociopath, what he'll do is he would look at that and go, whoa, whoa, whoa. All right, everything stops. Everything stops in this courtroom right now. When he would have seen those motions, he would have seen the truth of it. Everything stops in this courtroom. All your cases are dismissed. I'm going to get a hold of the legislature, and we got to fix this problem right now because we're violating human rights. That's not what happened.
No.
Because you got a sociopath in there, but go ahead.
I was going to come across and state for the record that I'm trying to find a way to resolve this problem.
Right.
And then I was going to state that the government of the United States of America, 1781, as amended, has a public registry, and if there's any reciprocity that we can come across and resolve this matter, not just for me, but for all the men and women, like you said, contact the legislature. There's, we're doing something wrong here. But that I was unable to even reach that point.
So it's happening all over America every single day. These dictatorships they've got running around the local courts, because see, the federal company it's a blind eye. They'll kind of turn their heads the other way. Well, that's local. We don't have any jurisdiction in local, even though they're set up like Amway, right?
Yeah.
Where the locals are actually responsible from the upper parts and all that. We know that's all BS. And they'll turn a blind eye because everybody gets a piece of it. Everybody gets a piece of it.
Yes.
You got a CEO of a company that is trying to build a wall down in Mexico line and all that. Got 21 billion, the whole deal. And he's supposed to be fighting globalists, but nobody's fixing their courtrooms. Courtrooms have not changed; they have actually gotten worse. The courtrooms haven't changed at all.
It was what you call the proverbial travesty of justice. And if anybody thinks that there's justice going on in those courtrooms, you're going to be sadly mistaken. Because there was no justice going on yesterday at all, in any way, shape, or form. None. Zero, zilch.
That's what got me started in 1995 when I walked into one of their, I wasn't even under a ticket. I walked in one of their courtrooms and just sat and watched for about 20 minutes. And when I walked out, I wanted to puke. Because it was going on in 1995. They had a line of people from the back to the front, and they were moving so fast. I couldn't believe it. Give me a license. Give me a driver's license. Here's the prosecutor. And there's a judge there. Give me a driver's license. Give the driver's. Hey, please not get it. That's what it sounded like.
He sounded like an auctioneer.
Yeah, that's exactly what it sounded like. As an auctioneer, they're going off and everything, and then guilty, pay the fine. Guilty, pay the fine. Guilty, pay the fine. And then guys were going, "Well, I junked the title. Okay, make sure there's no junk the title. Case dismissed. Next."
And they were saying, "Well, can you get that license reinstated?" And yeah, I can get that license reinstated in 30 days. Oh, good. Come back and give us good news.
Yeah.
Huh?
So we can write another ticket. And this is much easier. You just pay before you have to come here.
Yes.
It's easier to just pay.
Oh, and men and women were setting up payment plans. Well, I could pay $100 a month. Well,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Pay with what? Let alone pay with what? And
right.
then
Yeah.
It was like, okay, well, good. That's your good faith agreement, and you shall hold yourself to it. A couple of those went on before I was called up there. There was no justice going on. There it was just a processing assembly line.
Now this has affected and scared. This has affected your personal life.
Yes.
I'm not going to go into detail, but this has affected the marriage. This has affected your home life. This has affected everything just on one little incident like this.
Yes. All of the above.
And folks, you know what that's called? That's called domestic terrorism. When an organization uses violence to change the political structure of a county or state, of a local government, or even a federal corporation, it doesn't really matter. It's called domestic terrorism. So what you have is you have over 3,000 courts in this country committing domestic terrorism on a daily basis. And when somebody fights it, there's self-projection going on, just like every communist organization always does. Is if they do something, if they hit you and you hit them back, you committed assault. If you start trying to fight that system, that type of thing, you're the domestic terrorist. Not them, you. Because in the Communist Party, a peaceful settlement of dispute means you do what they tell you you're going to do and you submit to their will. That's their peaceful settlement of dispute. There's no bilateral agreements. There's only unilateral. You do what we tell you, and now we're at peace. And since you did what we told you, here's our fee.
Yeah, now you're free to go, and we'll catch you on the rebound again.
Yeah, we'll get you when you got some more money up. Go out, make some more money and everything else. And then when it shows how much money you've made and everything else, we'll get you again. Don't worry about it. We'll come back and get our little piece of the pie.
And they do it with impunity.
Yeah. Unchecked, unrestrained, non-disciplined, no discipline whatsoever. And their excuses are, and this is how they validate it. Well, you call us if you got a burglar around. You know why? People call police when a burglar's around or something like that. It's because they don't want to get sued. By who? The prosecutor. For defending their property.
Mm-hmm.
And go through this same rigmarole BS that some guy comes on their property, violating your intangible property rights, trying to steal something. You go to stop him, and you get sued. If you hurt him, he can sue you.
Mm-hmm. Because you're defending your property.
Right. And this is what we've been addressing, or the government of the United States of America has been addressing for the past couple of years. That's why the Human Rights Tribunal has been put in place. And it really it's just a matter of complaints. We have, uniform citation you can write up and everything else. But you can't, folks, you have completely, the so-called U.S. citizens have completely lost control of everything. They have no control over anything. And the ones that have never seen it or witnessed it, they're in complete oblivion
Mm-hmm.
to what's going on in their own counties. Oblivious, I would say. They're in oblivion, but they're oblivious.
Yeah. They know more about a football player, a baseball player, or whatever. Why Rome is burning? They have no clue what their rights are, or how to even defend them. And like was just stated, when you stand up for it, you're going against their will. You're the terrorist now.
Yeah,
when you stand up for your rights.
When you stand up against that terrorism.
Yes.
Now you're the domestic terrorist.
Mm-hmm.
And they isolate you from everybody in the county. They start passing rumors around and all that throughout all their members, all their Masonic members, all of them start passing rumors around to the people that are not Masonic members, so the people don't stop them when they go after what they call and deem a domestic terrorist. So they can keep going. Anybody that witnesses against them, no matter what it is, they retaliate big time. They go by your house real slow. Then they take off real fast, and then they go down the road. Then they come back, and then they're hauling ass, and then they're almost hitting the brakes, and then they go real slow. And then every time you go to the store, they follow you. 6 or 7 of them will show up. That goes on every day, guys. And when you have the attitude that, well, he must have done something wrong, otherwise they wouldn't have arrested him, that's when you are so beyond repair, it's unbelievable. Because somebody gets arrested, they're automatically guilty. Well, they wouldn't have arrested him. Where did you get that trust? How was that trust imposed upon you? It was imposed upon you when you were in 4th grade. And there was a police officer that came in your 3rd and 4th grade, it's usually. Police officer came in your room, your schoolhouse. And he's standing up there, and he's got the gun, and he's got all this stuff. He goes, now, if anything's going wrong, you call me. I'll be there for you. I'll take care of you. If your parents are hurting you or anything like that, you let us know. We'll take care of it. It happened when you were in elementary school. Happens all the time. Every year, a police officer will show up. Don't be afraid of me. We're not going to hurt you. in any way, shape, or form, we're here to protect you. You remember that one?
Yes.
Around fourth grade?
I remember 3rd or 4th grade, you ought to protect and to serve.
Yeah. They come in your classroom.
Yep. Always go to a police officer. He'll take care of you if you get lost or you're in trouble or anything. Look for a police officer.
He'll take care of you.
Yep. And that has been totally turned upside down. Not that it was true to begin with, but
yeah, not realizing there's people inside those uniforms. There's men there or women inside those uniforms. See, they look at the uniform, so they think because he's got a uniform that you got to spill your guts to him because you think he's your friend. Well, you're actually having a relationship with the uniform itself, not the man in the uniform.
Yes. And the agency he represents.
The agency, that the uniform represents, what it comes from.
Mm-hmm. You're not having a discussion with the man.
And usually around 3rd or 4th grade is when little children figure out that there's no Santa Claus and mommy and daddy lied to them. That's usually what happens. And they wait till around 3rd or 4th grade when they figure out that there's no Santa Claus. Mom and dad lied to them, so the kids are scared. And all of a sudden, somebody else swoops in and says, we're going to take care of you. I'm your best friend. Now you understand what's going on in England. Now everybody understands what's going on in France. What's going on in Norway and Sweden. It's because those people trust those uniforms. They were trained that way. And it's, what do they call it? Stockholm Syndrome?
Mm-hmm.
When you start protecting your abuser?
Yep.
And we were honestly, this was not a setup by us, that we were honestly trying to show them here, you can solve this problem and you can solve your legal liabilities that you know you have. Instead, what do? They commit domestic terrorism. See, when you have no due process, folks, when there's no due process, when they completely ignored motions that were put in, you're going by the rules and everything else, and that was completely ignored. And then it's guilty, pay the fine, guilty, pay the fine, blah, blah, blah. And it goes on and on. Prosecutor's not even in the room. Nobody's even there.
No, the prosecutor wasn't even in the room.
Nobody's
unless somebody was guilty, and then they brought the prosecutor in, and the prosecutor never even opened his mouth. The judge dictated to the prosecutor what was going on, and the prosecutor just shook his head up and down. No words left that man's mouth.
So you were found guilty with no evidence presented against you?
No, pleas were entered in for not guilty because allegedly I stood mute when I said I do not consent to any of this. Right. And he was stating a Rule 762.
Right, but what I'm saying is, and just an overall view, folks, if there's no prosecutor or no police officer in the room, if you follow what I'm saying, if there's nobody there, how can a judge find you guilty? If there's no one there to present evidence against you. Just so people understand what's really going on in the courtrooms. The judge is sitting there by himself. There's no prosecutor, no police officer, no nothing in the room. There's no evidence placed against him. There was no evidence against you, George. Nobody presented anything. There was no accuser. There was no nothing. And he enters a plea of not guilty and then finds you guilty.
Well, I had to.
Oh, that's right. You got them to where they could postpone it.
Yeah, to where I could get a tribunal, but that they were ready to have a trial right then and there. But I had to refuse that due to witnessing what was occurring, there would have been no fair trial there. There, no way, shape, or form there would have been a fair trial as we comprehend a fair trial to be.
Right. Now, if there's no prosecutor, and we're talking about like other people that were being run through like a conveyor belt, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There was no prosecutor in the room for them, right?
No, unless they pled guilty and then they were sworn in and the prosecutor came out and then the judge dictated to him. No words left the prosecutor's mouth that I heard of the 3 times that a man or woman pled guilty.
That's domestic terrorism. Because those people that pled guilty will never forget that for the rest of their life. Their whole mindset is completely wiped out. Their whole sense of security, their whole sense of everything is gone. And what happens is they begin to blame themselves. You follow what I'm saying?
Yes.
You lose them. It's like a woman being raped. It's like somebody's wife being raped. You no longer have your wife. Your wife is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Now you have a rape victim that you have to deal with for the rest of your life. That's why rape is so bad and why it's so horrible, because it was the psychological problems that come with being raped and then feeling of non-safety and all these kinds of things.
Very, very traumatic.
Yeah, the husband no longer has a wife. The children no longer have a mother. What they have is a woman sitting there who's a rape victim that, you know, most rapists never get the death penalty, which is actually what the penalty is supposed to be. They never get the death penalty. So they're still out there. They're having fun. They're doing whatever the hell they want. They got away with it, blah, 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 blah. Meanwhile, the children no longer have a mother. A husband no longer has a wife. It's done. There's nothing you can do. But you can't get any kind of justice in a courtroom where you have this secret society going on here. You just can't do it. There's never going to be any justice unless you're a member. Then if you become a member, that's called Stockholm Syndrome, because you're just becoming a member because you don't want to be abused and hurt. That's called domestic terrorism. Those are acts of violence to change your form of government. So does that make sense to you now? What happened?
Yes, and it ties into the pain compliance too. I mean, how much are you going to take? Oh, I'm just going to pay the fine and get out of this.
Right, because they'll leave you alone.
Mm-hmm.
Until the next time.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you had 300 people in the courtroom that day, I wonder how many they had today. And the next day. And the next day. And they're sitting back there with the cigars in their mouths going, ha, 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 counting all the money and everything. Man, we are racking it in. This is the best deal since sliced bread, folks. Just raking in the money. Bringing it in. Let's take some of this, go over to another town. Let's hit us a strip bar. Let's go to Vegas, whatever we're going to do. We'll take our cut and go. That's all it is.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have any courts anymore, folks. Your courts are gone. There's only one legitimate court, actually 2 legitimate courts in this country, and it's called the Human Rights Tribunal and the General Postmaster Council. Those are the only lawfully seated judges in this country. Sorry to say, but we'll hold on to it as long as we can. Anything else to say before we end this?
No, I think that's about it. And I just hope the men and women out there, wake up and pay attention to what was said today.
Well, when we get your complaint, more than likely what's probably going to happen is Thomas N. North is going to get a rude awakening. I think little Master Mason is going to change his tune. So at any rate, thanks for listening to the T-ROH Show. This is special edition number 6. We'll talk to you next week.